are you doing with that?
Okay, well, feel free to join in. That was the exterior of the church that we went to see yesterday. I have to say that if you missed it, you missed a treat, because the young man who was giving us the tour was just so delightful. He was passionate, knowledgeable, down to earth, quite funny sometimes, and incredibly honest about things. Really, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And it was built in late 60s, consecrated in 1970, but it was this was the slightly brutal exterior with this kind of very 60s, 70s representation of the bishop's mitre on the wall here. Interestingly, Maureen was with us, and it's on the site of the church in which she was married in 1962.
Yeah.
Is that right, Maureen?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and then not long after, it must have been pulled down for the dates that you're giving when built this one. Yeah. Yeah, I had some photographs on the wall of the church that was there before. So yeah.
Okay, so this is the guy Brumby, the guy who did all the ceramic work in it, and this is the absolute wow. I don't think this is a very good photograph actually, because it doesn't portray to me anyway what I felt when I walked through the doors. It's just a wow thing. It's just an amazing place, and this sort of checkered floor goes throughout the building, which it really stands out much more than it does in the photograph. And of course, this is raked slightly so that you go down towards the altar. But this amazing, astonishing piece of work, and it's all.
Adam, who's the guy who led us round, made it clear that this was an unusual form of the of Christ. Really, he's kind of serious. It's not in any way romanticized, I don't think, and I think it's just brilliant. It really does create an impression on you when you see it.
Yeah, it does, and it also tells a story, doesn't it? I mean, it's kind of. My immediate thought was, I'm not much of a theologian, but this was the light of the world, if you like. I get the feeling.
Is that like the resurrection? Is that a shroud?
Yeah,
that it's wearing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's this kind of stepladder thing that got me as well. It's kind of. I suppose it's a representation of the cross, obviously, but. This idea of going up to heaven or whatever, But I just like the light in it, and then you've got all things like doves here.
Those swirls remind me of Van Gogh's Starry Night as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like the heavens, isn't it? Basically. Yeah. It's stunning, and it's huge. I mean, it's not just maybe the photographs. Well, I suppose if you do it in relation to the altar, but
it's very much 3D as well.
Yeah, and you want to touch it. It's very kind of, tactile, isn't it? I suppose you're supposed to, but I mean, and it goes around the corner as well. It's not just a frontispiece. There's the whole section of stuff going down the sides. Anyway, there you go. And around the building, there are these. This is an unusual Madonna and Child, isn't it? Basically,
with Joseph.
One. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's using a child rather than a baby for it. There are more traditional things dotted around as well, but the actual structure of the building is very much 1960s. This is an interesting thing here. I'll show you what that is. This montage was erected on the occasion of the consecration of this church, blah, 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 to commemorate the two preceding parish churches of St Augustines, made up from sacred vessels rescued from the slave, crushed in the Blitz of December 1940. So he's used some of these vessels mashed them together to retain them, basically, you know, in form. So there's all kinds of
yeah, when you look closely at it, you really see the details as well, little jewels in the chalice and things like that.
Yeah, and there's sort of it's silver and pewter and whatever else, other kind of metals. So it's quite striking anyway. That's just another view across the church, and the Stations of the Cross are around the church in this 1960s almost troika style, if you know anything about pottery. But and that was looking at it from the choir, the balcony, if you like. Apparently they have quite a substantial congregation across the ages. There's a Majolica Madonna and Child, which is on one of the walls, slightly more traditional. He talked a lot about the surrounding churches, the surrounding area, you know, what had been there before. This is All Saints Church, which is obviously not there anymore, apart from its foundations, but it's the site of All Saints. Picture would be taken around about the turn of the last century, judging by the costumes. I think the church was demolished before the First World War, so, but it's an old-fashioned, well, not old-fashioned, it's a Georgian church, so it's, but it's obviously no longer there. This is how it looked in relation to, you see all the streets. So this, to the right of All Saints Church in the middle, I think this is where the Holy Family was. This is the Oxford Street, where the trams are here.
Yes.
This is where the Metropolitan University buildings are. These buildings here are still there, or some of them anyway, in facade. And one of the points he made was the fact that when they, you know, cleared all these so-called slum areas, they did a lot of social damage to people's lives and expectations and stuff. He's quite passionate about it, actually. He was a really interesting guy. And this is the park as it looks today, where the church used to stand, the All Saints Church, looking across at the old, what used to be the art college anyway. And there's Mr. Vallet's painting of the Hansom cab at the front of the square, with the church at the back there. Lowry's art teacher, the Manchester Impressionist, I think they called him. An old St Augustines, I think this one must have been in Upper Brook Street. These are the clearances in the area in the 60s, at the time when the church was built. And this is Oxford Street at that period in time. I found in 1967 this was taken apart. Not much traffic.
Not much chewing on the pavements either.
This is looking the other way down Oxford Street towards All Saints, but this is taken much earlier. This is probably about 1900, early 1900s, I would think. The electric trams started in, I think, like 1904 or something. So you still got horses and carts and things, and the Hansom cab there and stuff. So. But much of some of these buildings are still there. That's the old, that's the corner house building that's still there. And there's the railway bridge, which I always thought was quite modern, but obviously it isn't. This is the Holy Name Church, which is up at the university on Oxford Road, which was built in the 1860s, I think.
70s, I think.
Okay. In the style of the medieval French churches, so this kind of has some relation to Notre Dame with the flying buttresses and whatever else. And although it was made with modern materials, it was built on a very old style. This is the interior of it. I tried to go in a couple of times recently, but it's been locked, which is it's only open for services. Because I've never actually been inside it, so but there you go. But it looks quite splendid. And And he talks about the hidden gem just off Albert Square,
Mm.
which is more representative of the time it was built. It's kind of neo-Gothic. If you haven't been in there, it's a nice little peaceful hideaway, if you like, because it's tucked away, isn't it? But that's what it looks like inside. With this kind of, I don't know, what would you, it looks like Rococo, that kind of stuff, isn't it? A bit like the pillars in the Royal Exchange, which are fake marble, I suppose. There's the cathedral in Salford, Gothic style, built I think in 1850 something. And that's the interior of it.
I just thought I'd show some of the photographs I took. That's as I approached, and it's Adam with Dudley. So Adam was the guy, and he's a very, very interesting guy. This is some of the people as they arrive. On the left is Father Michael, who's only recently taken over there. Really nice guy. And he went on the tour with us because he wanted to find out more about his church from Adam, who's there, and Maureen, of course. And there he is, beginning to show the church and the reredos. There's Maureen. We looked at the stained glass windows as well, which were very, very interesting. We had a long discussion about those. And they really are something. Every element of it, when you look at it in detail, it really repays looking at it and talking about it. There he is in front of the reredos, and he made the point about the altar as well. How they've changed in Catholic churches since the was it Pope John the 23rd's period there, when they had a special, what did they call it? I can't remember. But it's brought forward so the priest stands behind it rather than in front of the altar, which is what used to happen.
It's interesting, that picture, because you always felt he was talking to you when he was explaining things. He looked you straight in the eye, and he was really, 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 really excellent guide. Yeah.
Well, when you see about his backstory, you realise that religion saved his life. Yeah. Basically, it's not too much to say that it saved his life, and he readily admits that. Yeah. And that's another of the, you can see he's sort of sitting on a plinth.
Oh yeah, because that's not obvious.
No, not clear, is it? And also, there's one at the. Then you can see each individual piece of ceramics, which looks like slate and isn't, is actually screwed on, and they were all apparently done by Bramby himself. He's also responsible for a lot of the work in the Catholic Liverpool Cathedral as well, which I think could certainly repay a visit. And there another view from the side, giving the sort of 3D nature of it. And that's something else I thought was brilliant, with it was the lighting. And the priest said when all the lights are switched off and at night, the light through there comes off and shines on the reredos. So, and lights up Christ's face in it as well. But it's just brilliantly lit. We've seen these. This one I thought was that's from the side of it. And as Graham pointed out, it's almost this bit's almost like a totem pole. With the various signs on it. Of course, they've all got meaning as well. And there we are, the happy band of those who could make it. But it was, and then afterwards we had a meal in the 8th day, and that's Adam, and that's his stepmom, Kate, who used to be a student of mine, and we only met up when I contacted Adam about giving us a tour. You know, that talk about coincidence and whatever. Anyway, that was basically the book that he's written, which Kate gave me a copy of, and it's his story it's called Making Beds in Brothels, and it just says about it. Adam Brock is a native of Manchester. 40% of profits will be donated to Survivors Manchester. Really is a story of redemption him discovering religion, and he's an extremely well-read and I think a wonderful guide to any area that he's interested in. He's particularly interested in religion, and
it's not just about religion, though, is it? It's a relation. Social history is very important to him as well. But it was just a really, really nice visit. So hopefully, for anybody who wasn't there, you've got something from it.